All right. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Mark P. Markets. Welcome to another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. I usually do this like on a Thursday, but I'm doing it today because we have a holiday tomorrow and on Friday. So I figure this would just be easier for everyone, hopefully. So if you're new to the channel, here's how it works. Please share your symbol or your market into the chat right now. So once I complete my analysis, I can go over the chart that you would like to see and answer your questions. My analysis is usually around 15 to 20 minutes. I try to keep this session around an hour if I can keep it around that. Hey, HS, good to see you. All right, so with that being said, let's get started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, today I want to, again, well, pretty much every day I talk about Bitcoin. Hey, DJ, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. So I'm going to talk about Bitcoin as I usually do. And also, I want to talk about some stock market stuff because it's very important, especially if you're involved in multiple instruments. Okay, also, we had a great question from the chat room earlier from HS about projections, so I'm going to cover that as well. All right, so before I get into it, real quick, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Also, press the like button. I see I have a couple of likes. Those are the pre-likes. They know I'm going to say it, so they liked it. Thank you for that. So yeah, if you like the video, please press the like button. Register for the channel so you get an email notification every time I do this. Also, check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas by text and email, and we have a chat room where there's a lot of insight, a lot of charts, and a lot of market information that you can get each day, which can really help when it comes time to make important decisions. We have a 7-day free trial, okay? So check it out and let me know what you think. Also, if you sign up as a free member, you get Trade of the Week, okay, which I sent out earlier today on AMD. We announced that Trade of the Week on the Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew show. That's on every Tuesday. Check out the video that's now in this channel, okay, from yesterday. Anyway, all right, enough of that. Let's get into this, people. So nice to see everyone. So let's talk about Bitcoin first. Now, Andrew sent out another swing trade idea yesterday on Bitcoin, and it's active, okay? Oh, he's still in Texas. Oh, nice. Okay. Where in Texas? Are you in Austin? So this Bitcoin situation, now, you know, he sent out a swing trade earlier, right, based on this move here, and that got stopped out, right, that was a tough spot. Like I said, that wasn't exactly my style. Now, this inside bar, the new one that has developed, the one that closed yesterday and is now active, is that my style? Well, we still have a location that's not the greatest, okay, the 24K area. But here's the thing, because we talked about this one, and I said, you know what, it's okay to send out. And the reason why I said that is because we have a clearly defined higher low in place at 21,864 was established. Okay, that was the low of that red candle. So yes, the location, the probability of the location is still not the best, but this is a strong market, okay? There's nothing bearish about Bitcoin, as you know. It could be in a consolidation, but we have to give it the benefit of the doubt that the bullish momentum is still generally in play. If this thing pushes at 24K and it can close decisively above, we can get another squeeze, okay? Usually what leads to that, again, this is not magic. This is not magic that's in play. What occurs in these situations is when it breaks out, shorts are covering because people actually short this thinking it's going to pull back, and they try to play that game, which is not a good game to play in something that's very strong. So they have to cover. They start buying. All the breakout traders that are waiting for that 24K to break out, they all start piling in as it starts to push. That's what gives you these vertical moves, okay? So the next resistance area that we're looking for is the 27.5, okay, up in here, 27,500 area. So the question that we got earlier from HS was, well, how do we come up with these levels? because there's no, there are no historical levels here, and pretty much this thing is just open space, right? Where do we come up with these? Well, there are a number of different ways. There's not just one way. There are forecasting methods, typically Elliott wave, right? We use Elliott wave, which is a forecasting method. And along with Elliott wave, hey, Stephen, along with Elliott wave, Fibonacci is used very, very frequently, okay? Now, there are many ways to use it, and it could be confusing. Before I even show you what I measured to get that level, you need to understand something. These levels are far from exact or absolute. I mean, I got 18.5K the same way, which we had a gyration there, okay? But I had 18.5K as a resistance when the market looked like this, okay? It looked like this. Actually, it looked like this. It looked more like that, okay? So we got there, but it really didn't act like a resistance as you might expect. Okay, yeah, there was some initial selling, but it found support and eventually broke higher. If you took a level like that and you took it as an absolute and say, oh yeah, it's resistance. Oh yeah, there's some selling there, I'm going to short it. Well, then you get caught in this. So you can't think in absolutes when it comes to these. They serve as points of reference, a place where a general price where you can anticipate some type of price action, okay? The question is, how does price act when it gets there? So 24K was the next point. We used that to help gauge our profit targets, which worked out nicely for the swing trade that we called off of this low. Okay, fine. Now, we're getting some hesitation at the 24K. Price action is acting in a bearish way here, but there's no follow through. So do I want to be short from such a level? First of all, we don't short Bitcoin, but if this was not Bitcoin, would I want to be short from such a level? I'd only be open to it if I had more compelling price action. At this point, with a higher low in place, with this situation right here in place, I wouldn't go near this thing short if it was another market, okay? Again, we don't short Bitcoin, but I am open to shorting the S&P, the Nasdaq, the IWM, certain stocks, stuff like that. Okay, anyway, Forex, I love shorting Forex if there are opportunities. Now, so let's talk about projections real quick and where they come from. So again, a lot of times it's wise you can't rely on just one thing. It's a good idea to understand Elliott wave and the Fibonacci because they work together. All right. Now, Michael mentioned in the chat room, the tools here. TradingView has this tool. You can go here and let me see where it is. The trend-based Fib extension, which is an extension tool. It has, depending on the platform you're using, it may have a different name. Okay, but that's what TradingView calls it. So when you're using this tool, you have to measure 3 points. The question is, what 3 points do you measure? That's where the subjectivity comes in. Okay, it's usually a good idea to get the most extreme measurements. So you can go from like the March low to this. You had this high over here back in, what was that, like August, right? That August peak, and you project that from the next pullback, and now you see there's levels. There are levels above, right? And as you can see, you have a 1.0 at 18.2 or whatever, right? So that's that 18.5. Remember, they're not going to be exact. And then here's the other one. It's 1618 at 23.5 basically, right? 23.5 area. So what did I have here on my chart? 23.8. So again, they're not going to, you can't look at it and say, oh, but you're off by like, 5 points. It doesn't matter. You have to like round it and look at the general area. I particularly like to round it even further to like a whole number, the nearest whole number, because often that acts as there's a psychological effect behind that as well. So that's basically how you do it. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because I do have a bunch of other things I want to cover here. But since it was a good question that was brought up, I just wanted to mention that real quick, and I wanted to mention it early. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, let me know. Now, so Bitcoin, right? That's Bitcoin. Now, let me show you a couple of things here because we get a lot of questions about this. Let me just show you Litecoin real quick, right? Litecoin. So Litecoin's fooling around. Litecoin is now what, -$9. It keeps gyrating in line with Bitcoin. No problem. It's doing what Bitcoin is doing, right? That's what I want to see. I want to see something that I can use Bitcoin as my gauge. Now, let's take a look at something else here. XRP. What a mess. Okay. People have asked about XRP numerous times. I get this question a lot. And if you go back to previous videos, go back to, my videos from the previous week, and, people ask about XRP, what do you remember me saying? Now, Andrew actually sent out a swing trade long on this thing back here, right? Back on this pin bar when we had our initial Bitcoin trade that worked out very well, right? The Bitcoin trade worked out very well. This one, no. Now, after this trade was in play and people asked me about it, what was I saying? I was saying this thing is relatively weak. Bitcoin pushed an all-time high. Bitcoin went to 24K. This thing couldn't even test $1. It couldn't even test this high here. What is that high? The 80-cent area, right? It couldn't even test that. Never mind $1, right? We should have been, if this thing was going to be strong, it should have been up here when Bitcoin was doing its thing. When Bitcoin broke out and Bitcoin's pushing 22K, 23K, this thing should have been doing something similar, like Ethereum, like Litecoin. Instead, this thing was struggling to push this little consolidation resistance. That is relative weakness, okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. If your altcoin is acting that way, there's something wrong with it internally. Now, just so happens that some news comes out, yesterday or whatever, the day before, I think it was yesterday, that the SEC is now targeting XRP for blah, 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 right? Some kind of illegal, whatever, investigation, blah, blah, blah. So it's sold off. Is this surprising? Like I mentioned in the chat room, do you think someone knew about that news in advance? Do you think someone was probably using this as an opportunity to unload onto people who don't know any better? Because they think, oh, maybe XRP will catch up. The relative weakness, although it's not something you could visibly see on a chart, there's nothing on the chart that says, oh, look, relative weakness. You have to know how to put it into perspective. You have to know what to compare it to. That's only something you can do, right? There's nothing on this chart that actually says relative weakness. You just have to know that, well, Bitcoin should be pushing high. If Bitcoin is pushing higher, if XRP was in line or relatively strong, where should XRP be? Should not have been where it was, okay? It should not have been here. This is where it was at the time. Should not have been doing that. And there are many altcoins that were showing very similar situation. That's why I stay away from them. They're junk, okay? So now we have this situation. I said, if Bitcoin pulls back, because even though I'm not an insider, I don't know the news, I don't have any connections to the SEC, which I'm sure many people in this game have, especially in light of the political nonsense that's going on in this country. All right, so there's no oversight in this space. So collusion and insider trading and insider information is all completely legal. In the stock market, it's not. In the Forex market, it's not. In the futures market, it's not. Options market, it's not. Those are highly regulated markets. This market, you can do whatever you want. Okay, that's why we stay away from certain things like shorting, because there's things that are so stacked against you, you don't realize. They can engineer moves very easily. So my point is, if it's acting relatively weak to the leader, Bitcoin, you should probably get out of it if you haven't gotten out of it, right? Whether it's XRP or some other junk coin, keep it in mind. Now, again, we mentioned it in the podcast yesterday. These junk coins, they're like penny stocks. And there may be some random lottery ticket winner that comes out of nowhere. Now, will a chart help you with that? Not really, not finding it. Let's take a look at Theta real quick, right? Look, Theta, big winner. Theta's pushing highs. This is what XRP should have been doing, okay? Now, Theta, we actually had a position in Theta a while back. I believe Alice may have originally pointed this one out to us when it was like worth nothing. And we had a huge win in this thing, right? We invested $100 and what, it's over $1,500 right now or something like that. I mean, that's a huge return. And do you think we sit there and we cry and say, oh, we should have invested $1,000. We would have made, $15,000. No, because we know the risks in these things. And we know that most of these coins do not do this. Now, this was basically a bet on, the founder. because he's involved in YouTube or whatever, the founder, one of the founders of YouTube, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that was pretty much it. So you throw a little money at it, and if it works out, great. It's a nice win. If it doesn't work out, which is most likely the case, then you don't really lose anything, right? So what's wrong with turning $100 into $1,500 with no effort? Nothing wrong with that. Now, you have to keep something in mind. These altcoins, like I said, can we sit here and analyze every little movement and say, oh, a buy signal right there, a sell signal over here? But no, it doesn't really make a difference with these. Really doesn't, okay? Because why? They don't trade on their own, really. Now, this is an exception. This thing broke out, right? It broke out from this consolidation high. What is that, 78 cents? And this thing is now at $1.15, almost $1.16. Yeah, impressive. Should you get into this now? Absolutely not. This is when these things go vertical, it's the herd mentality. The whole world is chasing it. So this is where you take profits, right? You lock something in, let the rest of it run as a strong hand. If you're buying it now, you're not a strong hand. And if it pulls back and gives back a lot of the move, guess what? You have to bang it out now or take a large loss, which is completely unnecessary. Or you're just throwing money out for no reason. So I just wanted to make the comparison between the two. Now, now here's an important question that you have to ask. Was this thing showing relative strength going into that move? The answer is not really, okay? There was really no relative strength. Now, keep in mind, Bitcoin had that move, started pushing its highs all during this period here, from basically October to like throughout November, right? Bitcoin moved from 14K to 18 or 19K throughout November, and Theta was doing nothing, all right? And it had that initial move from August, but then it was consolidating. So at that point, if you had asked me, so what do you think of Theta, right? Before we knew about this move, if you had asked me, what do you think of Theta? I'd be like, well, I'd take a look at Bitcoin, and I'd say, well, Bitcoin's pushing highs. This thing is having a hard time at resistance. I'd say it's relatively weak, and you have to hope for the best. That's all you can do, right? And then that. So my point is, the chart didn't exactly, you really couldn't have gotten any information from the chart that would have helped you determine this move, right? Yeah, we could say, oh, pin bar over here, sure, after the fact. Oh, breakout, sure, after the fact. Okay, sure, all after the fact. But if you're using the methods to project probabilities going forward, you have to ask yourself, well, what would I have said about this when, relative to Bitcoin at the time? It wasn't looking that great, okay? And then this. So this is my point. Random news can come out of nowhere, and next thing you know, you have one of these. So don't overanalyze these altcoins. People are going to come out and they're going to say, oh, I called Theta and I made $1 billion, in 5 minutes, and I'm an expert. Follow me, buy my book, buy my videos, all this and all that, and they'd be like, wow, he made 10,000% return in 2 minutes. I'm definitely going to buy his stuff. But meanwhile, it was just a lottery ticket. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Now, I know I'm ranting about this, but it's a very important point. Another thing, Monero. Okay, so another winner, strong stock. It's not stock. Strong altcoin. Strong, no question. Strong. This thing has been relatively strong the whole time. Okay, higher low. That's a higher low that's a consolidation area, right? Consolidation, higher low. We had another higher low established over here. We have another higher low established over here, right? And it's making higher highs. Now, do you buy this breakout right here? No, it's too high. All right, it'll pull back. That's not really a good buying opportunity. Now, if you're a day trader or you're very nimble and you're like, all right, if it fakes out, I'll just get out. Okay, no problem. But if you're new and you're not even sure like how to, place your orders correctly and all this and all that, this is a really bad thing to get into, because if it fakes out, you're going to be stuck in it. Okay, and if it breaks its support, it may pull back into this support, the range back here, and that's a good 30 or 40 points or whatever. So some people, they don't even know how to manage risk correctly, and they'll throw like $1,000 or $2,000 into that breakout, get stuck in it. Next thing you know, a couple of weeks go by and that $1,000 is cut in half or something like that. So just a few points to keep in mind, all right, especially if you're new. Now, all right, so those are the altcoins. That's Bitcoin. Any questions about that, please let me know. I'm going to run through the chat here real quick. Let's see. So Said hello, guys. Steven, good to see you. Sean, nice to see you. All right. Hey guys, I see I have one symbol in there. No, QUBT. Okay. Nicola. Okay. Yeah, sure. PSTI. Sure. We're going to take a look at those in a moment. If there are any other symbols out there or any questions about some of these coins I went over, please ask. All right. Now let's get into the stock market a bit, real quick. All right. Let's begin with the Nasdaq. Now, yesterday in the chat room, I said, we're in a holiday week, right? So tomorrow's a half day in the market, right? The market closes at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern time. And Friday is obviously holiday. Now, Bitcoin will be open and all that, but everything else will be pretty much closed. I said during this time, usually volume goes away, okay? A low volume market means usually you get a muted type of range. Look at today's price action. Look at this. So we had an inside bar yesterday pretty much after a bullish pin bar development the other day, right? That Monday attempted sell-off never went anywhere. Inside bar again today. Now, this type of price action can be interpreted as strong. Why? Because it's got a higher low in place and it's lingering at a resistance area, right? Similar to what Bitcoin is doing. Now, so that's the very short-term price action. Who is that good for? Well, if you're a day trader, that's good information. If you're a swing trader and you're trying to grab maybe there's a couple of buy signals here and there, or you're looking for maybe a continuation pattern in something like AMD, which was the trade idea, the trade of the week that I sent out earlier today. Right, that's what you want to see for stuff like that. AMD is not active, by the way, but if this thing breaks out, early next week, then AMD may go somewhere. Why? Because AMD is a market stock and it follows this thing, right? So my point is this: it's good for this type of price action. It's good for very short-term opportunities, very short-term. The broader picture, you see this large blue box. That's a reversal zone, right? It's a vulnerable area for price. This thing can work its way. It can grind to 13K, right? The Nasdaq, it can do it. It's possible. If the SOX breaks out, maybe you get some leadership in some of the more heavier weighted sectors. Maybe the FANG group breaks out a bit because they've been consolidating. It's possible to test this price. If we test it and you turn on your mainstream news, they're going to be throwing a party. They're going to be saying, oh, Nasdaq, record highs. We're going up forever. Now is the time to buy everything you can because that's what you do at highs, right? That's what they're going to tell you. It's the worst place to buy and the highest risk place to buy. There's nothing safe about this area. Now, it may break out. It could go higher. Anything is possible. I'm just pointing this out because what the wise thing to do is to be cautious, okay? If you're in a highly vulnerable area, any little piece of news can come out and knock the wind out of it. Now, we've had a couple of examples of that, but there's been no follow-through. Okay, fine. But there's that one piece of news that no one sees coming, just like that XRP situation. No one saw that coming, and now it's getting hammered, right? It's the same thing here. A chart's not going to help us see it coming. All we can do is gauge the general area, the probability of the general area. Now, have I been wrong at times and said, look, this is a vulnerable area, it's likely to sell off, only to watch the thing break out and go higher? Sure. But do I lose money when I'm wrong doing that? Sometimes we have some shorts on, right? Some shorts in the Qs or, some of these other instruments. Yeah, we have to get stopped out in them. Okay, fine. But are we risking, 50% of our account on that? No, we're risking 1%, right? On very rare occasions, we'll risk 2%. So, hey, we give it a try. It's an aggressive trade. We let everyone know what the risks are, and the market either pays us or it does not, right? So my point is this: be cautious. Not a good place for long-term trades. Andrew's been sending out, we had some great questions yesterday during the Talking Markets show that we really couldn't spend a lot of time answering. And I just want to answer it now real quick. One question that we had in there was when Andrew sends out like a portfolio ad, right? Oh, we're going to add, PSTI, or we're going to add some other stock or whatever, right? I'm just using it as an example. And you never got into the initial position. What do you do with that? Do you add? Well, the answer to that is if you're going to follow that trade idea, remember, you have to adjust your risk with size, okay? Because we usually don't use stops when we're talking about portfolio. So the only way you can manage your risk effectively is by taking a smaller position. If you're doing something like that near these major highs, then you should be even smaller with the size. So if you normally, now part of that is a function of how much money you have available in your account. If you're doing this with $5,000, all right, then you're most likely not going to trade 100 shares of something, right? So let's say you normally trade 50 shares, maybe 25 shares. Maybe that's your normal size, position size. Well, in a situation like this, if you're going to do a portfolio ad, you'd buy 1 or 2 shares, maybe 3 shares. Okay, you get the idea? So that's how you adjust. If there's a dramatic pullback, which is likely, right? It could happen maybe next month or whatever, I don't know. Then there'll be better opportunities to add more shares. And now you're getting into an average position. Again, we're doing situations like that with high quality stocks. You notice Andrew doesn't send stuff out about like altcoins, right? Or cannabis stocks, right? You notice if you look at the stocks that he sends the portfolio ads on, they're usually high quality stocks. There's a reason for that, all right? So if the market pulls back dramatically, they will provide an even better buying opportunity, which you're planning to hold for 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. That's a portfolio position. So that's the answer to that question. Just wanted to make sure it was clear. All right, let me know if there are any other questions. Now, so that's the Nasdaq, all right? The S&P is in a very similar situation. Let's just take a look at that S&P real quick, right? And then I'll take a look at the dollar. Now look, the S&P is showing a strong candle today, right? The Nasdaq was showing those inside bars, those indecisive bars. Look at this price action. Inside bar yesterday, this is sort of an inside bar relative to that mother candle, right, from Monday, but it's outside of yesterday's range. Does this really mean anything? Not really. We're still in a vulnerable location, right? This whole area is still vulnerable. So you can't really go by this. You can't say, oh, the buy signal in the S&P, I'm going to go crazy buying it. Not right before a holiday, all right? So we just have to keep an eye on it and see how it goes. Is this good for stocks that you're in? Yeah, it's good. Gives you an opportunity to lock in profits. If you noticed earlier today, what did Andrew send out? He sent out, take profit on this, take profit on that, take profit on this, right? He's locking in profits going into the holiday as the market is gyrating in a vulnerable position. He's capitalizing on the opportunity while he can. Because why would he send out take profits or get out when the market's here, pulling back 300 points on the S&P? Why would you do that, right? You want to get out here, not here. This is where we should be buying if we get that type of opportunity. All right, so that's the mindset you should have. Don't be distracted by news. Don't be distracted by hype. Don't be distracted by other experts that are half of them, I don't know where they get their information from, or if they're using small time frames, then they're not going to have, and they're mixing perspectives, it's going to be very confusing. Let me just put it that way. All right, now, a couple of stocks real quick that I want to mention. FSLY, there was a question about this. Michael had a question. This was a swing trade that was sent out a while back, and you could see it took some time. These things take some time. That's why, by the way, when we have our membership thing, we have the 6-month membership now and the yearly membership, because in order to really benefit from these strategies, you need to be with us at least 6 months. Okay? If you talk to some of our longest members, people like Alice, people like DJ, people like Irina, people like Fonz, people like Michael, and I mean, there's so many of them. Urzo. If you ask them, how they made money with some of our trades, it's because they've been with us at least a year. All right, so it's important. That's an important distinction. Now, as you can see, target one was 83.50. This thing is at 105. It closed at 105. I'm sorry, 101.71. Right, that's the close. It's still open, but we have 30 minutes before it closes. Target 3 was 105.50. All right, this thing went to 105.20. That was today's high, 105.20. The day before was 107.93. So this actually reached all 3 targets. Okay, very nice. You should be out of it, but it took some time to do that. What do you do now with this thing? Some people, they try to let the third one ride. Okay, they try to hold on to see if it goes further. If you try to do that, that's fine. But if you get this type of situation, this is now a sell signal, right? It took out yesterday's low slightly, And this is probably a good time. If you have not gotten out at T3, this is probably a good time to do it. Now, can it break higher? Yeah, sure, it can go higher. But it's, if you want to capture that basically 2.0 reward risk, you had it, yesterday, and you can still get out for a profit. Now, who knows how far this will pull back, right? The idea is to wait for a sell signal, and if it shows up after you've given it a pretty good chance, it's usually a good idea to get out, especially in light of where the S&P and Nasdaq are trading right now. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, PLL, this is another one, right? Check this one out. So PLL, we called this as a trade of the week that was sent out a couple of weeks ago as well. And this thing's been having a hard time, okay? What the high yesterday was 31.72. Today's high was, 31.68. And our T1 is 33.80. So it's having a hard time getting there. What do you do with this? Is this a sell signal? Well, sort of. We haven't taken out the previous day's low yet. And perhaps, tomorrow or Monday, it may take out today's low. That would be a sell signal. Now, how you manage that part is up to you. Usually what we do in these situations, especially if it's like trade of the week, we have our stop in place. We just either it goes to the stop or it goes to the targets. We can't babysit every position. We have lots of different positions going on. So it's up to the market at that point. But if you want to make that adjustment and exit partial earlier because you don't like the sell signal, that's fine. That's up to you. Michael had mentioned in the chat earlier about Sunrun, right? And he said, oh, he got out a week ago early because it wasn't really performing very well. And he was like a little upset. But he said he had other positions and he had to figure out what he wanted to do, manage his money correctly. And I said, you know what? You did the right thing, even though you got out, when it was consolidating a bit because it wasn't performing, right? Today's high is what? Yesterday's high is 71.30. Today's high is 71.30. So it went to our first target. Okay. But this one's been a big pain. I called this one back in November, back here somewhere. I called it. And we had to sit through all this nonsense. This is like an entire month or month and a half worth of nonsense. So, it's better to manage risk because you don't know if it's going to go your way again. This lower high could have turned into a lower low. So was Michael wrong in getting out, even though now it's going the right way? No, because he managed risk. And that's the right behavior. In time, he will receive a reward for that behavior, not just because, one stock may have faked them out, right? Remember, price action is highly random. So you can't go by, oh, I missed this, I missed that. If you made the right decision, you'll be better off in the long run rather than getting a reward for a bad habit, which is very, very common. Okay, so enough about those things. Let me see how I'm doing with time. 32 minutes. I think I'm pretty much done with the stocks in the market that I wanted to go over. Real quick, I just want to mention one more thing, okay? And then I'm going to get to your questions. Gold. So the situation right now, the US dollar has been getting weaker and weaker, right? We had a pop up in gold. We had a pop up in the euro. Obviously, Bitcoin benefited as well. Look at the situation in gold. Gold, with the stimulus package and all that political drama, gold is still in a position to go higher. We now have an inside bar on gold. That is the beginning of a long signal off of a higher low. Okay, what are the lows here? 1857. The low before that is 1859. We've been talking about that 1840, 1850 area. So if it takes out 1878 tomorrow, okay, or the next session, which maybe it could be tomorrow, then that would be a long signal in gold. Now keep in mind the CFD is a pain. There's a lot of risk when you have to risk like 20 points on the CFD. So you have to keep your size pretty small, especially if your account is small, because the contract sizes are large. But this thing can easily take out 1900 on its next leg, especially in light of the fundamental situation, right? And this should affect the euro as well. Now, what are other ways to play gold? Take a look at NEM, right? Newmont Mining. Similar situation there, okay? Take a look at other ones. Will Wheaton, precious metals. Wheaton Precious Metals, right? Inside bar there. We have positions in these. CMCL, that's another one. How's that one doing, right? So they've been consolidating. If you want to get involved in gold, plenty of stocks. GDX, right? Plenty of stocks. There's the ETF. They're much more, you can control your risk in much more effective ways relative to the CFD. A lot of people don't even have access to the CFD. So, but you know, I like the CFD to track gold, and I do like putting on trades in that thing when the opportunity is clear. But again, you know, it has to be relative to your account size. If you have $1,000 in your account, you can't be buying 5 or 10 contracts, even micro lots of this thing, because if you're wrong, it can be very expensive. All right, anyway. All right, so let's get into your stuff. By the way, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure to press the like button if you like my video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you like the channel, so you get email notification every time I stream one of these, and for the Talking Markets show every Tuesday. Also, we have a 7-day free trial at greenbridgeinvesting.com. Please stop by, check out our 7-day free trial. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email. We have portfolio management ideas by text and email, and we have a chat room, so you can try it out. Plus, we have a free chat room, and I invite you to go in there and ask us questions during the day. We may not get to them right away because we're active in the other chat room, but we will answer your questions, and it would be nice to have a community in there as well. Pal, who's a regular contributor to the chat here, is usually putting stuff in there as well, so we've seen a few people in there. Anyway, all right, so let me get to the chat here. Let me answer your questions. So the first one we had, so DJ says, yeah, in Austin, learning network virtualization. That's, okay, nice. Okay. Well, I'm surprised it was like an in-person thing. Yeah, everyone's usually on, you know, what do you call it, Zoom these days or whatever, right? Microsoft meetings. So QUBT, DJ wants to know about. Quantum computing. Wow. So herd mentality, right? How much is this stock? So it was as high as $22 just a few days ago, $25. And now it is back, it got cut in half. So what goes on in these situations? Well, again, pops up on all the day trader radars. Nice breakout, okay? Nice breakout at that $7 area. It pops out, people are pumping it, people are hyping it, whatever it is. If you manage to get a piece of that, this is why I tell you, when you have something go vertical, take something off the table. Do you know it's going to run to $25? No, but you don't know at one point, you don't know where that music is going to stop, okay? So if you locked something in, what if you bought this thing? Let me just give you a scenario here. What if you had bought this thing, it broke out, and you chased it a bit, but hey, everyone is buying it, right? So you bought some, let's say you bought some at $10, which was, I would say, is a risky place to buy it if you had asked me at the time. If it looked like this, and you said, hey, what do you think of quantum computing? I would have said, stay away from it, because it's broken out, it can pull back, right? Wait for a better price. And you said, I'm not going to listen, I'm just going to buy it. All right, fine. You bought it. Oh, look, making money. Oh, look at that, this is great. Hey, I'm not listening to Mark again. What a moron. He told me not to buy it. This thing almost doubled. Yeah, great. This thing's going to $50. And now it gives it all back. Okay? So the thing is, when you get these situations and it goes vertical, like I said, especially when you see this, take something off the table. If you locked in even 20 or 30% of your position, that will help you sit through this mess, right? And maybe it goes back to break even on you. Even if it does something like that, you're still green because you locked some in at the high. Okay, so that's a good example. Thanks for bringing that up. Now, DJ, to go moving, looking or going forward with this thing, what about buying into this thing now? Well, not with this candle. I still see bearish momentum, right? I don't see any reversal. That's not a reversal candle. Nothing attractive about that. Now, the location isn't too bad, right? The location is definitely better than $25, but I need to see some stability. The first thing I want to find is support, and the nearest historical support is back at that $7 or $8 area, right? So that's where I'd like to see the stability develop. Now, you can argue and say, but there's a higher low. I mean, sorry, not a higher low. There's an inside bar. What about buying that? It's an inside bar, but the momentum is bearish, right? So that inside bar may break to the low side. I'd rather see a bullish inside bar develop near the support. Even more than that, I would like to see maybe a failed low situation, some sort of price structure develop over some time, perhaps a few days before getting involved. So I think you mentioned that there's cheap options in this thing. Let me see. Well, thanks for those dates on FSLY and Sunrun. You see, DJ is like my fact checker, right? Just in case I want to spread fake news, DJ makes sure I don't do that. Thank you, DJ. So hold on, he's asking. Oh, I found. Oh, WWR. Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that in a second. So back to this thing. Yeah, quantum computing. I'd hold off on that. Now DJ has another follow-up question here. I saw this chart on November 20th. It was at a high, so I'll buy. Okay, when it tests that level, and then move to Texas. Oh, see, they knew you were moving to Texas, DJ. That's why, like, oh, DJ's moving to Texas. Let's run now, and then we'll make them feel bad. But hey, look, there'll be more opportunities. These are great stocks. I don't know if there are options in this one, but these could be great home run options trades if you buy like an out of the money option and you buy a bunch of time. Like you don't buy a month out, you buy like 6 months out, even in something like this. And you have a spectacular move in a short period of time, you get out, you take your money. It doesn't matter if you have 6 months of time still in the option. Take your money when you can. Okay. Now, he had a couple other questions here. So Nicola. All right, NKLA. Now, we've been watching Nicola very carefully. It's at an attractive location, but man, the price action has just been not very good, okay? It had that negative news with that GM, I guess that GM deal or whatever. Didn't work out. That was back here, and it's been pretty much doing garbage ever since. Now, it gapped a little lower today. This thing is struggling to hold that $15 area. Oh, no options. Okay, no problem. So you just have to buy the stock outright. But again, I would wait for stability on that QUBT. But thank you for bringing that up. Definitely a good one for the radar. So Nicola, now this is what I like to call a hated stock. Okay, definitely hated. Usually you can find opportunities in these, but right now I would hold off on Nicola. Nicola, I'm sure you can get some cheap, deep out of the money options, 6 months or more. But Nicola needs to start taking out resistances. Right now, it's taking out supports. Not a good time to be getting in, okay? Unless you're going to buy like a year out and you're okay with taking some pain. I mean, at this rate, this thing could go to, 5 or 8. I mean, it's possible. Anything is possible. So what you want to do, a more conservative way to deal with these, instead of stepping in front of it, saying, well, how much lower can it go? Right? Next thing you know, it's at $5. So one way to do it is wait for resistances to get taken out. You have a minor resistance right here at 17 and a quarter. Basically, let it get taken out. You say, well, 17 and a quarter, this thing's at 15, that's $2 I could have made. Forget the $2, right? That's what you need to basically give up in order to have momentum on your side. All right. So that's what I would do, as I would wait for that sign of stability before doing anything with Nicola. Now, there's plenty of resistance levels, plenty of potential in Nicola, as we know with the electric vehicle space, right? There are better charts out there. So I would hold off on this one. Now I'm going to show you a better chart, right? Like Workhorse. I like Workhorse. Look at this, right? Nice higher low situation, much better looking than Nicola. Nice push the other day. Now it's just kind of doing a little bit of nothing today, but it broke out of this little range over here, right? You got this little range. Okay, so that's more like it. Okay, broke a resistance, closed above. Yeah, it's fooling around today, but that's more like it. That's a momentum change coming off of a higher low. I like it. So this would be a better candidate. Okay, WKHS relative to Nicola. Remember, this week Tesla has become part of the S&P 500, and some people think that that's Tesla's going to go to 1,000 again because all the funds have to buy and blah blah blah. No, they've done that buying. Okay, most likely they have done it because they knew way in advance about it was going to be part of the S&P, right? They usually know that stuff before any of us. So if anything, being part of the S&P 500 will probably reduce its movements, not make it more dramatic. Okay, whenever institutions get very involved in something, a lot of times, institutions don't want big moves. Right? Big moves are not good for them. You think, oh yeah, you have 1 million shares, and yeah, no, they want stability. It's easier for them to manage risk, when they have stable markets, not wild markets. Wild markets are good for retail traders because we can move quickly. All right. So anyway, just something to keep in mind there. Now let's see. So another one here, PSTI. So I hope, DJ, that was good insight for Nicola. PSTI. Now this one, I know this one was an Andrew. I believe Andrew mentioned this one a few times. This gap over here. Look at this gap, right? So Typically gaps like this, actually look, there's a couple of things I want to point out. First, support and resistance. We have a support, an old support, new resistance right there, right basically in the middle of the gap. So that's an important level, 8.25. All right, so put that in your notes right now. That's a level to keep in mind. Gaps often act as support and resistance as well. In this case, a resistance. Now, PSTI has been trying to have this little comeback. It could suck people in. Another area to be cognizant of, this old support back here. All right, notice this, back in June, the low was 688. Look where it is today, fooling around, right? Right now it's at 702. Do you think this is a good place to buy? Not me. I wouldn't buy it here. This could be a resistance. So I would leave it alone until it developed maybe a double bottom or a higher low, especially with all this potential resistance in the way. So it would be a good one for the radar. So thank you for bringing that one up. I think that's, it has potential to move, but just keep an eye on that resistance. I like to buy supports. So let me see what else. WWR. All right. So Sean. WWR. Found deep out of the money options. 65 cents for, now 217. What is that? Is that some kind of date? 217? What is that? So WWR, that's Westwater Resources. This one, I've talked about this one because it's another electric vehicle play. And these things have a lot of potential if it can move. You could see that move back in October. That's the kind of move you want to see if you have deep out of the money options, right? These are home run type of moves, that type of move. Great. You have a higher low in place. Negative day today, what? Minus 25 cents. Okay, no big deal. Now, if you can buy, so you're saying there you found some for 65 cents, the 1250 call, which is, let's see, 1250 is over here, right? So, okay, going back for that high, which it can do, it's possible. But now you're saying the date there, 217. I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about February of next year, that's not enough time. That's why it's 65 cents. You need, you need, for something like this, minimum 6 months, minimum. Because you have to keep something in mind. They can waste a lot of time, right? Now look at this. From October, from that October peak, right? Then it made a low here. What is this? October 23rd. It made a low. Since then, it's gone pretty much nowhere. And today is, we're pretty much into the third week of December. So 2 months, it has gone nowhere. And you want to buy a 2-month option? No way. 6 months minimum, okay? So something to keep in mind. It's tricky with those. That's why I won't go anything less. For a long call, deep out of the money, I will not go anything less than 6 months, okay? So just something to keep an eye on there because they take time. This thing may fool around for another month or two before you get some news that spikes it. And you want to be able to weather that. So you need a lot of time. You need a lot of time value. Just to give you an idea, for Jumia, okay, we all know Jumia. Look at this ridiculous stock, right? This thing went to $50 pretty much. You could see the trade idea that was sent out a while back at $8.50. When this thing was at $8.50, you could have bought, because we talked about this, we looked at the options chains, you could have bought the $15 strike price for the year 2022, January of 2022, for $2.50. Okay, now that's cheap. That was at the time $8 out of the money, and that was 2 years of time, or over a year of time. That's what I'm talking about. And now look, if it does something like this, and you manage to capture a lot of that, you get out, you take the money. It doesn't matter if you have 2 years of time. You just take the money, you get out. Okay. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up as an example. But thank you for mentioning. Thank you for mentioning the WWR. Okay, Hamid. Could you please look at WBA? Sure. Now, is WBA is that a stock? Let's find out. WBA. So, Walgreens. Oh, yeah. All right. So, interesting situation here. So, by the way, if anyone wants to see like an altcoin, just make sure you put like USD after it so I know that it's a coin. Sometimes I'll look at a symbol. I'll put like the first part of the symbol. and I'll talk about the wrong stock or the wrong chart for like 3 hours, and I don't look at the chat, and then people are like, you're talking about the wrong symbol. But people are nice and they listen to me anyway. Okay, so this is Walgreens. I just pointed out some inflection points there. In fact, there's another one right around here, right around there somewhere. Okay, so those are the levels you're dealing with. As far as trend goes, I mean, look, this thing made the March-April low. Actually, it made its low in October. Okay, and yeah, so you have some change taking place here. The November push, higher low. Okay, that's a change in structure. That's good. All right, that's a bullish sign. It consolidated for like 3 months or 4 months. So, and it's starting to change out of that. Okay, good. Now, we have another potential higher low developing today. So is this thing worth risk? You know what? It's not bad. You pulled into a support, right? You're not buying into a resistance. That's a support. You have an inside bar developing situation at a support level. Okay, fine. I like those. I like that setup. The question is, what's the risk? What is the reward? And how fast can this thing move? I mean, from the beginning of November to the middle of November, right? Basically in 2 weeks, this thing went from a low of 33.5 to so $10 move in 2 weeks. Not bad, not bad. So it can move somewhat better than Bed Bath & Beyond, which took 2 months to move $8. So what is the risk at this situation? The low is basically 39. So I'd say 38.75 is somewhere where the stop, you'd have to consider a stop. Today's thing 39.86. Right, so you're risking at least $1, at least, to try to going for, let's see, the high here is 43, so around 43.50. All right, so you're risking about $1, maybe slightly more, maybe $1.25, and you're going for $2 or $3. The reward risk makes sense. So not a bad idea. I like it. Walgreen Boots Alliance. All right, so I guess that's, I don't know what Boots Alliance is. I guess it's different from Walgreens. But yeah, and if it breaks out of that resistance there at 43.73, you have some more room to run to 46. So not bad, okay? And the structure is changing. Not bad. Maybe there are some options. You probably can get some nice, cheap 6-month out-of-money options on something like this too. I wouldn't be surprised if you can get a $46 for maybe April or May. And has anyone looked that up? Let me see here. Okay, so that's what I'd say about Walgreens. I mean, I like it. It makes sense. You can risk $1. You could try to make $2 or $3 over the next couple of weeks. I like it as a swing trade. So thank you for bringing that one up. Okay, so FSLY, right? Okay, got that. So I'm just going through the chart here. All right, regarding QUBT, okay, no problem. PSTI is Andrew Stock. I think he took a swing trade. Okay, right, yeah, because I remember him. I remember that name. Okay, so got that. All right, no problem, Sean. So 12.5, August 21, $2.50. So if you're referring to WWE, all right, so that's less than a year, but $2.50 for 12.5, that's not bad. I mean, let's go back to WW. I'm sorry, I said WWE. No, it's not Worldwide Wrestling. WWR. 12.5. Now, something like this. Again, if you divide that by the amount of months that you're buying, it's basically, you could look at it as you're renting 100 shares of the stock, for some amount of money per monthly basis, right? So what do you say here? $2.50. So if you divide that by, say, August, so what is that? What is that, like 9 months out? What is that, 10 months out? No, 9 months out, something like that from here. So you would divide that by 9, and that's basically what you're looking at per month, okay, as what your outlay is. And you can look at it as like basically like you're paying rent for 100 shares, and if it goes your way, great. If not, well, you gave it a try, and that's how much it costs you per month. That's the way I like to look at it. All right, anyway, thank you for mentioning that. About those calls. I mean, $2.50 isn't bad for 12.5, right, for that much time. Plenty of time for some news to come out on this thing and spike it. As you can see, it doesn't take that long to spike. If there's news on it, this thing could spike in a few days. That's all you need. So 3 months can go by, or 4 months could go by, and nothing, there'll be nothing. And then in 1 week, the thing runs $10, okay, or $15, and that's where you make your money. That's the game you're playing with this, all right? Which reminds me, real quick, CGC, right? Cannabis. Look at this. This was, we should have called this, but, you know, I don't want to call lots of trades going into the holiday. Double bottom situation. Someone had mentioned this the other day. This thing looks like it's going to go for the breakout, okay? The cannabis sector. So just something to keep an eye on. Should you buy this thing right now? Well, no. I mean, you're right in the middle of the range. It's considerable to try to buy the $30, basically the $30 breakout. It's actually $29. But if it goes for it, you know, and you want to go for that, just keep in mind, if it fails right away, you need to be quick to get out of it, because it can pull back, you know, a few dollars, and there's no reason to take that much pain in something like that. If you want to keep your risk low, or if you're not going to be quick about it, or you can't monitor it, then you really need to wait for a support. Okay. Anyway, I just want to mention that, because that thing's up $1.15 today. These things are, that's a nice structure. Okay. And the breakout, that high, since it's coming off of a higher low, I would anticipate the breakout to follow through, and we should get a higher high. But, you know, these stocks haven't been the best. All right. Although laws are now much more supportive, or they're getting there. All right. Hey, Ileana, driving school. All right. So Walgreen. Okay. 8 months out. Okay, cool. Please tell me who is buying Roku. I'm afraid to even, I haven't looked at that one in a while. Is it $500 yet? No, it's almost there. 360. Okay. Yeah, you gotta be nuts. I'm sorry. You just have to be nuts. Is Roku a good stock? Sure, it's a good stock, but not like this is, the market pulls back. You better believe you're gonna see dramatic moves in something like this. It's ridiculous. What do you do with a stock like this? Put it on your list, okay, and wait for a good opportunity. What is a good opportunity? Well, you look for those inflection points, okay? That's a couple of them right there, because I see some price action there. So maybe at some point, you know, maybe by the first quarter, it may test one of those levels. Right? You're looking at 239, 283, just like when we used to watch NVIDIA, right? And we'd wait for one of those ridiculous levels. I think we watched NVIDIA pull back from what, 300 to like 189 or something. It was the March low, something like that. And we picked some up. That's how you trade one of these. You don't chase these things on the highs. Now, if you ask Andrew, you know, about buying something like this, he would probably tell you, oh, just buy a couple of shares up here and then buy more as it pulls back. Sure, as an investment, you have to manage your risk with your size. And yeah, like if I was going to buy normally like 100 shares or something like this, right, at a high like this, I would buy like 5 shares, okay? 5 shares just to be in it. But that's, you know, so if it pulls back $40 or $50, what do I care? All right, and then I can average into it. That's how you have to look at something like that. Yeah. So you start out very small, so at least you have a little piece of the action. If it continues higher, okay, great. But you're not going to make money with your 5 shares. The idea, it's sort of like you're just keeping track of what's going on. And then you wait for these much better opportunities and you average into it. And now keep in mind, for Roku to pull back dramatically like that, the stock market needs to be pulling back dramatically. And often when that's the case, people are scared. And no one wants to put money to work at those times, just like the March low. Everyone, and if you turn on the news, let me watch the news, because I'm going to get some more insight. And you know, I know conventional wisdom, and I'll be able to make sense of it. Right. Well, if you were watching the news back in March, everything was going to zero. We knew enough, and most of you that were in the chat room can testify. We knew enough to be buying things at that time. We had plenty of things that we bought in the portfolio at that time. Okay, because we knew that that was a buying opportunity, a very dramatic one. Now, did we go crazy and did we put everything at risk? No, but we put money to work and it worked out. Okay, now, if we were wrong, we'd have to take some more pain, sure. But we know those extreme situations, right? We have experience. So keep in mind, it's possible to see something like that again. Those things don't occur very often. They're rare, but when they come along, you have to be prepared. And the only way you can be prepared is you have to know your levels. You have to know what stocks have the value that you want. You know, solid companies like Roku is one of them. There's plenty. I could rattle off the list of 20 stocks that are good ones to buy in such a situation. But when the situation comes about, you must be prepared to put the money to work. Now, does that mean you put thousands of dollars to work? No. You start buying small. And as it stabilizes, you buy more and you buy more. And then, you know, if it gets unstable again, you hold off. And then you let it stabilize again. And that's how you control your risk for that type of investing. That's not swing trading now. We're talking about managing portfolios. Okay. So DJ, after being Greenwich, I'm not buying anything high. Wow. See, yeah, right, DJ. Thanks. And that's something that, you know, I'm a big proponent of, is staying away from highs. Why buy highs when opportunities? These are not what opportunities look like. Conventional wisdom says that, you know, if it's something that's strong, right? Sure. Can we say that this is weak? No, it's strong. It should stay strong. Conventional wisdom says that it should keep going in this direction, right? That is human nature. That is what human nature tells us. But markets don't work that way. Okay, markets are highly random, number one. And number two, you can't see how things can change in the future, right? Just like, again, I bring up that March low because back in February, let's go back a year. Okay, let's go back. At the time, I mean, this thing sucked at the time. Look at this thing. But you just don't see it coming. Back here, look, oh, look, Roku looks safe. I'm going to buy Roku at 160. Yeah, all right. Okay, cool. Why is Roku going lower? This is a good stock. And then the March low comes along there. Roku's at 108. Oh, man, Roku went to $60? Okay, no one sees that coming. No one sees it coming. And you can say, oh, but the news at the time and blah, blah, blah. Well, how come they weren't reporting that back here? Right? Because, again, they're just reacting to stuff. They don't know anything. So we can only use charts to gather clues about what is likely to happen. And the only other thing we could do is manage our behavior and control our behavior and only do things that are effective in the eyes of the market. Not what we think. The market doesn't care what we think. Okay? The market doesn't care how much money you make or lose. The market doesn't care about your opinions. It doesn't care about anything. It just does what it does. So the only thing we can control is our risk. Rewards are random. That's a very important thing. People think like this, oh, I missed the high. I could have held this and I would have tripled what I had. Right? Okay, that's great. But you know what? You could have also won the lottery. Right? But you know, we all know that chances of that are very low. It's the same idea, except the stock market, your chances are greater of getting to profit targets, right, compared to the lottery. The point is, the profit targets are generally random. You don't know how high it's going to go. So what we have to do is look for clues that can help us stay in a position. Yes, we can do that. A chart can help us with that. Not news, not what experts tell you. It's in the charts, right? But the other thing is that you want to keep in mind is the risk, because that is the only thing we can control, is the risk. And when you combine poor risk management with emotional, reactive type of trading, which is what inexperienced people do because they don't know, they rely on human nature, well, that's not a good combination, because now you're reacting to a random environment and you have no control over your risk, right? So what that often leads to is getting caught in positions where you now hope that the market comes back, and the market loves to reward bad habits. It loves to, especially when Bitcoin's pushing highs. Okay, Bitcoin pushes 20K, Bitcoin pushes 24K, and then you buy it, and then it goes to 17K, and then you sell it, and then it goes back to 25K, and then you buy it, and then it goes to 23K, and then you sell it, right? Because you're reacting. So it rewards the bad habits. Why do you do that? Because one time you bought it at 20K and it went to 25K and you made money. So you're like, oh yeah, well, it works. So I should be able to make money buying it when it's high, right? That's again, you have to do the opposite. Human nature is not your friend. You have to capitalize on it instead. In order to do that, you have to first become aware of it and what the weak points are. And it starts with yourself. All right, enough of my psychological and philosophical rant This video is going to be 2 hours if I stay on that. All right, HS had a question here. Link. All right, so let's do Link, and then I'm going to wrap this up, okay? And I'm going to let everyone enjoy their holiday, so you don't have to listen to me for, a few more hours, because, DJ knows I like to talk. DJ, I don't know if you were here for it, but Michael said that I can talk about the weather for an hour, and he's right. USD, I can talk about the weather for an hour. Don't get me started, especially with the lousy weather we have here in New Jersey. All right, so now Link. So again, now look at this, right? Great example. I'm glad you brought this up, HS. But here's why. What have I been saying about Link? What have I been saying? In fact, maybe someone could tell me. Maybe DJ might know, or others, maybe Sean, people that have been listening to these, they've been listening to these analysis that I do a few times a week. What have I been saying about Link? Let's see if you've been paying attention. Now, I'm not picking on you, HS. I just want to see, what have I been saying about it? Let me see if I can get a better chart. I'll go to, let's see, am I on Coinbase? No, Bitstamp. Okay, yeah, let's go to Coinbase. There's a much better chart. There we go. So what have I been saying? I like it. Let's do it. Oh, missed it. Well, no, what I've been saying about this is it's been relatively weak, right? Yeah, I mean, garbage is basically another way of saying it, but it's been relatively weak. Remember, when I look at the altcoins, I look at the leader first, which is Bitcoin. Just like when I look at stocks, I look at the S&P first, and I ask the question: where is this stock? Is the stock a market stock? And where is it relative to the S&P? Is the S&P making new highs? Is my stock making new highs? Is the S&P making new highs and my stock is floundering? That's a problem. Is the S&P pushing lower and my stock is holding support very well? That's a good sign. That's a sign of strength. Now that's stocks, right? You can apply that same idea with coins or altcoins and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the leader. Bitcoin is like the S&P. These coins do not trade on their own unless there's a specific piece of random news that comes out, which is rare, right? Again, it's rare in these things. So if you have to depend on the Bitcoin relationship, the first thing I ask is, well, Bitcoin is pushing 20K and broke out to 24K. Should this thing should have broken 21, right? It should have been on its highs. And if you look at, there's plenty of other examples. Look at Litecoin, look at Ethereum, look at Monero. They behaved properly, okay, relative to Bitcoin. This thing has not behaved properly. And I've been saying, if this thing can't even take out or test a not so major resistance, 1570 area, that's not a major resistance. Okay, that's not a key level. The key level is $20. Why are we not at $20? That's relative weakness. So if Bitcoin pulls back, where is this thing going to go? Looks just like XRP to me. Okay, it looks very similar to before XRP broke. So if Bitcoin pulls back, and I'm talking about a pullback, I'm not talking about a couple hundred points. Because people may say, oh, but Bitcoin, it pulled back the other day. It went from 23 whatever to 22 whatever. That's not a pullback. Pullback is a few thousand points. A real pullback on that thing will be from 23K to 19.5. That's a pullback, or 18.5, or 16.5. That's a pullback. Now, if we see that type of pullback, where is this thing going to go? It is likely to break the support. The warning is there. It's relatively weak. Okay, so what do you do? If you're in this thing, you have a couple of choices. You can perhaps take a loss once it breaks the support. That's one thing you can do. If you don't want to do that and say, well, but I like it for the long term, it's an investment. Okay, then all you can do is hope for the best and hold it to zero. Okay, now you have a couple other supports before that occurs, right? You have the October low or whatever that is there. What is that? Around $8. I mean, you could give that a try and say, okay, I'll wait till that extreme low and then that's it. Or, something like that. I wouldn't be buying more of this. That's for sure. If I had some, I would just hold on to what I got. Perhaps you can also lighten your position, bang out of some, take a partial loss, and if it turns around, you can buy it back. But again, you're asking for trouble because there's no relative strength here. Now, just like I pointed out with Theta, Theta was in a similar situation, and then I guess some news came out, and now Theta's a big winner. So if you're hopeful for something like that, then that's all you can be because the chart is not telling us that. Now, so you can wait for maybe a breakout or something if you want to buy more. 14, if it breaks out above 14, perhaps it'll gain some legs. People start piling into it. You could watch for something like that. That would be a bullish sign. If anything, you want to see this thing take out resistances, not take out supports. So that's, maybe perhaps you can add on a breakout, that type of situation. I would think about that if you really believe in this thing or you're trying to manage it. If you think it has that type of potential like theta. But like I say, those are, the chart is not going to tell us that in advance. Okay. So good question. All right. Let me see. Sirhan, nice to see you. XRP hitting. Okay. And RSI. Okay. It's a great buying opportunity, but that lawsuit thing. Okay. Well, so Sirhan, it's a good question you bring up. I want to answer that, before I wrap this up, because you mentioned some technical things, all right, which are good observations, and you say good buying opportunity. Well, in terms of location, yes, in terms of location, right? But there's some negative fundamentals driving this thing, and momentum is heavily bearish. There's no buy signal, there's no stability, there's nothing. So you stay away from it, right? Now, if that news can clear up or something and there's some stability at the time, that would be the safer thing to do. Let it stabilize, let it break a resistance. Right now, I don't care how attractive it looks, this thing can keep going lower. Just keep in mind, all right? So just because there's a good location doesn't mean it's going to stay there in turn. So yes, theoretically it's a buying opportunity, but you have to look at the whole picture. You have to, look at the context. Okay. Now, if there was no news on an XRP and it was pulling back because Bitcoin pulled back, okay, fine. You're at a good location. You wait for the stability. You buy it. Blah blah blah. Okay, fine. But there's no quality in these things. If this was a high quality stock that was getting beat up on some stupid news and you want to buy some, okay, fine. This is not a high quality stock. Okay, there's no oversight in these things. So what to do? Nothing. Let it stabilize. There'll be plenty of other buying opportunities, and there are plenty of other charts that offer much better opportunities than this. Let it stabilize. People that have that same thinking that you have, oh, it's low, I'm going to buy some. I'm going to buy a lot because I've been waiting for this price, and then thing gets cut in half even further. It can happen. There's nothing that says long in this thing right now. Okay, so thank you for mentioning that. All right, now, DJ, that's how much you've taught us. Oh, cool. Oh, great, DJ. No, I'm glad to hear that. And that's the whole idea. So I'm going to wrap this up now before I talk for 3 hours because I talk too much. Now, but I want to leave you with this. Again, well, for one, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure you press the like button because it makes me feel like that these are worthwhile for you guys and for me. And register if you like the channel so you get an email notification from YouTube every time I do one of these. Plus, we have a 7-day free trial over at greenbridge.com, greenbridgeinvesting.com. Stop by, take our 7-day free trial. We have a swing trade signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas by text and email. And we have a chat room where we're sharing all types of insight like I kind of do here, but Andrew puts a lot of stuff in the chat room. It's really good stuff. Our swing trades, we cover Bitcoin, we cover stocks, we cover options, Forex. I mean, we cover everything. We don't have tons and tons of trades. We're very careful. We're very conservative. Okay? Okay, no problem, DJ. So also, I just want to mention that, I want everyone to know that our goal is for you to build confidence and to be able to have the perspective to make the right decisions like DJ has just mentioned, right? It takes some time. You're not going to get it overnight. You're not going to, it's not going to just, light bulb's going to go off kind of thing. It's not magic. It takes time. You have to get some experience in front of the screen. You have to be able to build a point of reference so that you have some point of context, some point of perspective, things to compare to. That's where it comes from, okay? So we can help shorten that learning curve, and that's what we spend a lot of time doing. Most importantly, we want you to have the confidence to make those decisions when the time comes, okay? And understand why you're doing what you're doing, and what kind of risk you're taking and how to manage that risk effectively. It's all about risk, really nothing else. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you again all for your great questions and the participation. I want to thank you all, for your support, and our members over at Greenbridge. Thank you all for your constant support and encouragement. I want you all to enjoy your holiday. Have a very fun and safe holiday over the next couple of days if you're celebrating it. You know, tomorrow will be in our chat room and all that stuff, but it's probably going to be a slower day, and obviously Friday's off. That's why I'm doing the video today. Can you give a trade? Yeah, yeah, DJ, you've done well on that. I'm still stuck in that stupid thing because I didn't get such a good strike price like you got. So yeah, I'm looking for more of those NYCBs. I'm glad you made out on that one. It was my little Christmas present to you there, back in October, or whenever we mentioned it. Anyway, so again, people, enjoy your holiday. If you have any other questions, if I missed something or if something comes to you, come to our free chat room over at greenbridgeinvesting.com and please ask it in there. We'll be happy to answer it. All right, everyone, so enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Thank you.